Hello and welcome to another Learn in 10 video. I'm Declan Doyle, founder of the Pro Coaching Group blog, and in today's video we're going to be discussing weight loss versus fat loss, which is usually a hot topic of conversations out there. So before we start, just a quick one, feel free to subscribe if you don't want to miss any of these videos. They usually go out on a Sunday, and ask any questions, get answers in the comments. What you'll learn today, guys, is we're going to learn, really understand what are the major differences between weight loss and fat loss and why it matters, particularly for those who've got those goals in mind. One of the biggest mistakes I will see out there is when people are about to embark on a weight loss protocol, or they've lost a lot of weight, and they assume often that just because I've lost a lot of weight, that you've lost a lot of fat in the process. While that can happen, it's not necessarily true. Weight loss alone doesn't necessarily make sure that you lose huge decreases in fat at the same time. If you have heard these terms before, saggy thighs, one that floats around a lot is the bingo wing type thing. How these terms have come to fruition, I should say, is because when people have these tissues, this leftover tissue in their body, it's usually a sign that they haven't done enough to maintain lean muscle tissue in the process, particularly if they've lost weight. So when you jump on the scales, you have to remember that number you get when you look at that number that's the total metric of these types of things combined. So that number is combining bones, tissue, muscle, fat, water intake, and that number represents the total of these things put together. So obviously it's really good to know, well, of that total number, then how much of that is fat percentage, like how much fat tissue am I carrying, because obviously knowing that is going to be crucial to know across the board, well, how healthy am I at this weight. So this is why researchers have come up with a way to actually determine your fat mass, your fat percentage, and we can usually get that by, or a fair estimation of it anyway, by getting a proportion of that total weight. If we divide our total fat into the total weight, we usually get a percentage of fat there. And there's lots of ways that you can do this. So you can estimate it using any of the below methods, and there's more. I've just picked a handful of the ones that are out there. So you'll see things like skin fold measurements, bod pods can be used, scales, handhelds. These are all fine, but you have to know this is just an estimation. But you need to know equally what ballpark you are in to have a target. So my advice to you, if you're watching this, is to make sure you pick one that you can use consistently. Use it in the same state as much as you can, meaning try and use it in this at the same time, same place. Each time you do use it, look for trends in it over time. So look at trends in the change of fat percentage over time, and what does the trend look like, as opposed to looking at a single metric. And use other supporting practices as well. So you might use waist circumference, hip circumferences, arm circumferences, just to support if your fat percentage is coming down, or you are showing signs that you are losing fat percentage. Look for other ways to support that evidence as well, and using circumferences can be a way of supporting that. So why does it matter that you track your fat percentage as well? Well, if you look at these pictures here. I'm sure you know the guy on the left. You can have people of the same weight, so you can have people sitting at the same weight, but their muscle to fat ratio is not the same. So as you can see here, someone who's hanging around at 10% fat versus 40% fat, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand who is healthier here. Okay, so if you are maintaining more muscle to fat ratio, you are going to be far healthier in the long run for a whole host of reasons. So as we said, don't just assume just because you're losing weight that you are losing copious amounts of fats at the same time. It doesn't work like that. So what can you do to kind of make sure that if you are losing weight, that you're not losing just a lot of lean muscle in the process as well? You're not losing a lot of muscle tissue to go with that weight. Well, you've got to adopt practices to offset that as much as you can. So what are the healthy or levels that you should be looking up for, or kind of a ballpark figure? These are the kind of ranges out there. Males and females usually hang around the range of 11 to 18% for males, 18 to 25% for females. And what can you do to kind of make sure that you offset as much lean muscle as you can? Well, first and foremost, you got to control your energy balance, right? So you got to make sure you're not consistently overeating. In other words, putting yourself in a calorie surplus and therefore putting on fat mass. But if you have a strength protocol in the process, so if you are doing some form of resistance training, it's really important, because resistance training is well known to offset lean muscle loss to go along with weight loss. So if you are losing weight and you don't have a resistance protocol in there, it's highly likely that you won't retain as much muscle mass when compared to a person who is using a resistance protocol. Sufficient protein intake is going to be key. So protein is vital for again, offsetting lean muscle loss and supporting the retention of growth of muscle and maintaining it. So these are kind of three key things you should be looking at if you want to make sure that you are not just losing weight and losing lots of muscle in the process. Okay, so it is certainly far healthier to lose weight and maintain as much muscle as you can than just lose weight and lose lots of muscle in the process at the same time. Okay, so hopefully you understand the importance of making sure that you track your fat percentage as you go. And you understand that fat loss and weight loss are not the same thing. Track your body fat, so use some metric to track it, but use it consistently in the same conditions, preferably every time you do use it, and make sure you've got supporting practices on board to offset as much lean body mass losses if weight loss is your goal. Hopefully you found that useful, guys. If you've got any questions, as per usual, pop them in the comments, and I'll be back next week with another video. If you have any ideas or you want me to cover any particular topic, by all means pop your suggestions in the comments as well, and I'll aim to do it for you. Have a good evening, and I'll be back shortly.